Welcome to the Tavern, World Builders! Today we are talking about a LitRPG, short for literary role-playing game, novel, called Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. Beware, here there be spoilers. Grab an ale, zero proof always available, and pull up a chair. I'm Emma, your friendly barkeep, along with Allison.
Hello.
And Christiana.
Hi.
And we are so happy to have you here. Cheers!
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 So for anyone who has not read this book, this is the first book in a series of novels, and the series begins with the sudden arrival of alien entities known as the Borant Corporation, who restructure Earth into a multi-level dungeon for their amusement, killing most of the world's population in the process. Humans and various Earth creatures are forced to become contestants in a live-streamed gladiatorial game show. Carl, having just been cheated on by his girlfriend and left with her cat, Princess Donut, finds himself thrust into a deadly competition with uncountable viewers across the galaxy watching their every move. The dungeon levels are filled with traps, puzzles, and monstrous creatures, all designed to test the contestants' strength, cunning, and teamwork. As Carl and Donut progress through the dungeon, they gain experience, level up, and are forced onto multiple talk show programs for viewers' entertainment. This is a novel, so it could be mistaken for like an actual like role-playing game, but it is a novelization where it's kind of like a real-life role-playing game for the characters. And with that, let's dive right into Happy Hour, because I really want to talk about this one. So this novel was Allison's suggestion, and Allison, had you read it previous to this, or had you just heard good things? No, you read it?
I'd read it. I feel like I am the Dungeon Crawler Carl evangelist in my friend group. I keep telling everyone to read it because I love it so much.
Yeah, I'd had it on my TBR list one time when I was just like Googling book recommendations to add. I'd seen people talking about it, and the name sounds ridiculous, but it's such a good novel. So I was like, okay, and I put it on my list, and then it was there for like a year, and then Allison was like, how about we read this for the podcast? I'm like, yes, finally an excuse to read it. And it's amazing. I loved it.
I first heard about it on Felicia Day's podcast, actually. She mentioned it, and I was like, ooh, I like things that Felicia Day likes often, so I'll check it out, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, and it's an odd occasion when Allison and I actually have the same taste in a book, and I think Christiana did not love this book as much, unless your opinion changed since last time you messaged us.
I didn't. It's funny, it's one of those books where it's like, on paper, I should love this book. Like, I love RPGs, I love a tournament arc, I love isekai, where it's like, you know, people thrust into a world they don't necessarily understand. I love a good animal companion that's sassy, I love cats. Everything about this, it has all the tropes and all the things that I really love about it, and I adore the world building. I really adore the characters. I think the humor is pretty good. I just didn't like it. And I wanted so badly to like it. But for me, I think just it reads so much like the transcript of a Twitch stream that I was like, I just could play a video game instead. I think it's kind of like where I ended up feeling about it, where, yeah, the inventory is cool. And when he gets a new item, that's exciting. But I think it's more exciting when it's me who's finding the item and then I get to use it kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know what it precisely it was about it, because I really wanted to love it. I still had a ton of fun with it.
Nice.
But I don't think enough to continue the series, to be transparent. So
I'm already like looking at the library for the next book of the series. Like, I want to read all of them.
They get even better. When I first read it, or actually I listened to it, the audiobook is so good. The narrator does such a good job.
Yeah.
I remember the first time he reads something, I don't remember what it was, like an achievement or just some really long text that was just like gamer text. And I'm like, oh, I could see someone finding this really boring, like all these sort of lists and explanations, but I loved it so much. I was here for it. I was like, this is perfect for me, but I could see how this book might not be for everyone.
I also loved all the lists.
I'm here for all the inventory management.
It's one of my favorite parts of gaming is inventory management. It definitely felt like it was like reading a video game, but for me, instead of making me be like, oh, I should be playing a video game, it like scratched that itch. It was like, oh, I feel like I am playing a video game. Like, now I don't have to play a video game because I've already satisfied that by reading this book.
Maybe for me, it's a control thing. Because I'm like, oh, if this was a video game, I would not make that choice. And then I'm immediately like thinking through how I would approach that situation, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. Maybe that's it.
The humor reminds me a little bit of the Fallout TV show, like just over the top, gory and
Very
ridiculous, which I really like.
Yeah, I feel like it was like Fallout meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It was like very,
that's really
very
good
much a
comparison.
blend. Yeah,
That is, yeah.
But let's jump more into the meat of our discussion and head on over to Tavern Talk. So, lit RPG is a weird genre. Like, that's not a common, at least mainstream one. I can definitely see it being a niche.
Publishing.
Yeah. And this series was also originally self-published and then picked up by a publisher later, which is always cool.
Yeah, I love those stories. It just got so popular.
I don't know that I've ever seen another mainstream, like traditionally published novel in that genre. I'm sure there are some, but they're not, as big.
I'm curious if this genre is going to become more mainstream with the success of this one. I guess we'll see.
I actually had this recommended to me by a friend, Alex, if you're listening. Hi. And he really loves lit RPG. Like that's, I think he had a bit of a reading slump for a while, and then he listened to, I think it was Dungeon Crawler Carl first, and now he's like neck deep in the genre and totally loving it. So I could see it rising a little bit. I think he's like the second person to mention the genre to me. So.
Yeah. All of these books were put out I'm just looking up the publication dates. So they were put out pretty quickly, one after another. Like the first one was 2020, second was 2021. 3 of them came out in 2021. That's the self-published dates. And then they were all picked up in 2024 and republished traditionally.
It seems like Matt Dinniman is pretty fast.
Yeah.
At writing.
Yeah. Or potentially he could have batch written a few of them before he started
Well, I think he writes
too.
them and publishes chapters on his Patreon, I think.
Cool.
As he's going. Which I
the
would be
ultimate
so afraid to
accountability tool. Holy moly.
Yeah, no kidding.
I've seen interviews with him, and from what I understand, he's a pantser. Like, he writes by the seat of his pants, just not outlining anything, and then he keeps track of all the little threads he's dropped so he can pick them up later, which I find just bonkers because there's so many things that he'll, drop hints towards, or there'll be this mystery, and you'll be like, ooh, what is that? And then it'll come up later in a later book.
Even in just the first book, there's a lot of that.
I was going to say, there are so many things that I'm like, oh, that's going to be a thing that comes up later. And a bunch of them have not yet. So I'm very I want to see where those lead later.
He's really good at that.
I feel like this is a genre that lends itself well to that kind of writing. Because that's kind of how you play a video game, right? Like when you're going through a video game, you don't have a plan of what you're going to do because you don't know what's going to happen. So I think it's like kind of a very meta way of writing.
Yeah, you come across something and you're like, oh, I'm not a level high enough to do this yet. So
I'll come back to it.
Yeah, that's really fun.
So should we sort of explain what lit RPG is?
Yes, yeah.
I made a few notes that sort of define the genre. So first, it takes place in a world that has rules, like an RPG or video game. Common elements, the ability to level up, classes or ranks, different species, health/mana bars, stats, damage notifications, achievements, grinding, menus, so the characters can look at their stats, or maps, or whatever. It usually uses mechanics and hard numbers to demonstrate character progression, which, of course, doesn't mean that your character is not going to progress as a character like in a normal novel. It should also be doing that.
Yeah.
And then it takes a lot of different forms. So often the character might be trapped in an actual video game. So like in Sword Art Online, which is an anime, or in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which is a movie we talked about in an earlier season, which is so much fun. I love that movie. Or like the character wakes up or are transported to a fantasy world that has video game-like rules. There's a LitRPG series called The Wandering Inn that I will mention again later. Or the characters just spend a lot of time in a video game, like Ready Player One. And I feel like Dungeon Crawler Carl has sort of mashed some of those together, because it's like, it sort of is like a completely different world, even though it is technically taking place in this universe as we know it, right?
Yeah. I adored the world building and the opening scene. A little behind the scenes thing, there was an earthquake this morning, and I was thinking if I had to run outside my house, I would also probably just end up in pink Crocs. You know what I mean? Like, I would just end up in horrible footwear.
Yeah.
And totally unprepared for a situation like that. But the world building itself, the idea of like all the buildings collapsing and
Oh,
like
yeah, so
cars getting
visual.
sucked into the ground. It was
Yeah.
so visual and so visceral. And I
Yeah.
also really like that. So from these wonderful lists of examples, I have seen Sword Art Online. That one does get pretty emotional, pretty intense.
Mhm.
But I found it was interesting that this one took a lot of the humor from things like Jumanji or Ready Player One, and it kind of like skates over the trauma that Carl is experiencing. But he's really kind of messed up about it, even by the end of the first book.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Like, it totally smushes all of these together in its own weird little way.
Carl's trauma comes out as anger. You see it a bit in this
Yes.
book, that
Yeah.
when he
Yeah.
has to be interviewed and go on game shows, he's so annoyed. He's like, I'm out
Yeah.
here surviving for my life,
Yeah.
and you people are using me for entertainment. He's
Or when
very
he
mad.
comes across, I'm blanking on the name of the character who he finds dead, and then he figures out Frank killed her.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh,
Rebecca,
there's another
right? Or
crawler.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's killing
going
people.
around killing other crawlers. Also,
Yeah.
in case we didn't mention this, people who are forced into this game are called crawlers.
In
Yeah.
case it's not
Like
obvious.
So,
Dungeon
in case it's not
Yeah.
obvious,
Yeah. Yeah, like you can definitely see hints of it peeking through that he is traumatized and being traumatized. Like there's a thing where it shows how many remaining survivors there are on Earth, and
Yeah.
he keeps watching that number going down and down and down. You can see that that's really messing him up. But he's also
Yeah.
like in fight mode the entire time. Like he has not, like his adrenaline, I'm sure, has not come down since he got
Yeah,
into
he's
that
in the
dungeon.
middle of this
Yeah.
experience, so he can't really stop to feel those things.
Yeah.
At this point, I think if he survives this, once it's all over, he will have serious
Yeah.
mental
Like
health
post-traumatic stress disorder
Yeah.
and yeah.
even the humor lends itself to it. Like when he kills all the goblin babies and he gets the achievement. I can't remember what it's called, but part of my language, it's something like "you sick fucker" or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it's funny to read it, and they're like, oh, if it makes you feel better, they were all like transported safely away. Oh, no, just kidding. They're actually dead. You're sick.
Yeah.
And there's a scene later where he's trying to rest and he keeps thinking of that achievement and trying not to think about it because it'll pull it up on the menu, I think is what it is. Like, I found all that very interesting, which is also why I never do an evil run in RPGs, because I know one day I will get sucked into this reality.
Yeah. I feel like I would categorize this as like a portal fantasy or a second
It
world
kind of
fantasy.
is, yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
it takes place on Earth, but immediately
But it's
like Earth
so
is destroyed.
different.
And then they say that like all of this dungeon is created from the material. Like they flatten all the buildings and like all the cars, so anybody who is inside a building is instantly killed when this happens. And then they create the dungeon out of all those remaining materials. So like it technically is our world, but like for all intents and purposes, it's a completely different world.
It's
so
not,
I would
yeah.
absolutely say this is like a portal fantasy.
All the rules have changed.
Mhm,
They're
mhm.
not in a video game. This is literal life for them, and like when they get to choose their race in floor 3, which happens in the next book, they're literally changed. If you choose a different race,
Mhm.
you literally are transformed. Like it's not,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's not
fake.
like it's not like Ready Player One where you get to like
Yeah, where
leave
it's
the
an
game and go
avatar.
back to your
Yeah.
This is actually happening.
Also, Mordecai, their trainer
I
guy.
forget what his-
Yeah.
he's in one.
Who
They enter a
explains-
safe room and he's like their mentor.
He explains
kind
the
of
rules to
figure.
them.
Tutorial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tutorial
The
guide.
guild master, isn't
And
it? He's a
they're
guild
NPC,
master.
Yeah.
He changes shape every floor. I don't know if I guess you probably wouldn't know that if you hadn't read more books, but it's really funny because they
He
like.
does change in the first book, doesn't he?
Oh, does he? Yeah, because they do 2 floors.
Yeah, he
in the
becomes
first
a
one.
bugbear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's the
which-
rat at first.
It's
Yeah,
very
and then a
funny because he
bugbear.
doesn't get to choose. So there's a book where he changes into this frog-like thing. If you listen to the audiobook, the narrator kind of changes his voice to like
Oh,
sort of
that's
sound
fun.
froggish. It's very fun. And he's so annoyed at a lot of the races he gets turned into.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's fun to read and funny, but like deeply traumatizing
Oh,
for
yeah.
Mordecai.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Deeply,
Yeah.
deeply traumatizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like kind of traumatizing for the reader too. Like at the within the first couple of chapters, I literally gasped out loud because the last sentence of it was either the last sentence of a chapter or I think it was the last sentence of a chapter. It could have been the first sentence of the next chapter that was just like, he's like, oh, a thing rolled to my foot, and it was a severed head. And, like, I was not expecting that.
Very
and
first
I
one,
literally gasped out loud. I was like, oh my goodness. Which is, like, I generally don't have that kind of visceral, like, almost like a jump scare, sort of. I'll cry and stuff at books, but usually, like, being, like, shocked like that is hard to pull off. So I was like, oh my goodness. And it really sets the tone for what the rest of the book is going to be. Because it does not pull punches with the, like, violence or gore or death.
It's like if a Dark Souls game was really, really funny. And also a book. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weirdly grim given how funny it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting combination of humorous and serious and outrageous and emotional at times.
So now that we've defined what a lit RPG is, I mean, we've already been talking a little bit about how Dungeon Crawler Carl fits into this. It very clearly is of this genre. And apparently, so I was looking into the genre, so apparently there's lit RPG and what's the other one? There's game RPG that people kind of differentiate between the two, with the kind of lit RPG having, like, you actually have to go through levels and, like, get achievements, whereas game RPG is more like you're just in the game world exploring things, but you don't necessarily progress in the same way. The very, like, small delineations between different subgenres is so fascinating to me. So that's kind of fun. But this one definitely fits in lit RPG. Like, he literally levels up, and there's major things that happen. Princess Donut also levels up, who we have not talked about enough yet, but is the cat.
Princess of my heart.
She's incredible. She enters the dungeon with Carl as a regular cat, and then immediately gets, like, an item that turns her into, like, a sentient cat.
Yeah, he finds, like, a pet biscuit or something, and she becomes a character, and she's higher level than Carl is.
She's the leader of their party.
Yeah, it's very funny.
She's incredible. Love her. She's also, like, very fame hungry. Like, when they start going on talk shows, she's, like, clearly addicted to the, like...
Because she's a show cat.
She's a show cat, She's like, Carl, my numbers are going down. I haven't gotten any new followers in 5 minutes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Carl says something in this book like, oh, I could see this becoming a problem. And it does become a problem.
Yes.
I will spoil that for you in the later books. Donut's obsession with fame. Also, my favorite scene, or one of my favorite scenes in this book, is the one where she rushes into the goblin boss room and then comes back and is like, yeah, he's in there. Bomb it. And Carl's like, okay. And he clicks the button to explode some bombs in the room. And she's like, there were sure a lot of babies in there, too.
Babies and pregnant goblins. And he's like, you're joking, right? And she's like, oh, there were a lot of babies in there, though. And then the bomb goes off. I was like, Princess Donut, no.
It's so terrible and so funny.
It's the perfect representation of a cat. Like, 100%. It's so good. And she's just, like, ruthless. And yet also, like, wants to have her fur brushed and be pampered.
And she's basically like a child. So you see her, it's really interesting. You see her kind of growing up a little bit as the books progress.
Yeah, because in book one, she's
more mature.
Very impulsive.
I mean, she's still very impulsive, but the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love her so much.
I thought the author did a really good job of dropping tidbits of backstory into this, like, sprinkling it. We've talked before how a lot of times, especially in genre fiction, authors tend to, or newer authors often like to, like, info dump or lore dump. Yeah. And in this one, you just get tiny sprinkles. Like, there's one offhand comment where he thinks to himself that, his girlfriend was trading Donut in for a younger model. Like, she was going to get a new show cat. Like, just, like, tiny little things like that you're, like, start to learn about their previous life.
And there's one point where she talks about, oh yeah, that guy that comes over when you go to the gym. And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah. And then later on, she's like, how can you be so observant in here, and yet in the outside world, you didn't realize that she was dating so 3 guys? And he's like, wait, what?
And he goes, there was more?
Yeah.
I will say they do a good job with that for the characters. It's the most upfront exposition book I think I've ever read when it comes to world building, which makes sense because they literally go through a video game tutorial.
Yeah.
Right? Which is exactly what every video game is. So, like, it gets a pass for me on that because that's exactly what video games do. And that's the novel wouldn't work if you didn't have that. Yeah. Right? Although, actually, I think it might be kind of fun to dump someone in there and they figure out the rules and they figure out how to open their menu bar only halfway through the story. I think you could do something really fun with that. But that's the one thing where, for listeners, if you're thinking of building worlds, you get one pass, and it's Lit RPG, where you're allowed to just like exposition dump up front.
Yeah.
And it's also like he still did it in a really humorous way, which made it more entertaining. Like if it was super dry, it also would not. But like it's so funny because as you were saying, like, oh, you can do something really fun where like they don't get to figure out the rules right away or like halfway through, and I'm like, no, I hate that. I would be so annoyed by that. I want to know right away.
Oh, see, that's what I want. And maybe that's why, I don't know, Lit RPG maybe isn't for me. Like I want to discover at the same time as the character, and when it's all up front, it's less exciting to me. But
I like that the rules make the world feel bigger, because there's points in the story where the game announcer, which they just randomly hear if you're in the game, talks about stuff that's happening or rules changing or updates.
The exploding bathrooms.
Yeah, like sorry about the exploding toilet or whatever. Like things that Carl never encountered. It just makes it feel like, oh yeah, there are other people in this dungeon like doing shit.
Yeah. Or he gets items that he can't use until a later level. It's like, oh, you have to be level whatever to use this. He's like, all right, I'll put that away for later.
Yeah, it makes the world feel bigger and like real. But like, these other things are happening. Also, him meeting other characters and other crawlers contributes to that as well. Like, oh yeah, there's other people trying to survive here.
Yeah.
It's not just him.
Every time I thought of, I don't even want to call it a plot hole. It's not a plot hole, but those little nitpicky things where I'm like, oh, and then he just happens to have a door, like his building collapsed and there just happens to be a door right there. How convenient. And then immediately it's like, yeah, we like to stack the odds a little bit. Like the game makers will sometimes like put more doors in certain areas.
Yeah.
Like immediately it's self-referential and wrapped up. And realistically, it doesn't make sense if you're looking at it in the world, like in the real life. But this isn't real life. And so it at least is internally consistent. So I really appreciate that.
As someone who loves a competition, I also love that it's a game within a game. Like, you get a little bit of the Hunger Games vibes with Carl having to go on shows.
Yep.
And, like,
and get
try and get
sponsors
patrons.
and get followers.
Yeah, so I really like that. It sort of added another layer. Lots of this type of lit RPG, especially in, like, this is a big genre in anime, being dropped into a video game or a video game type world. A lot of it is just your character's dropped there and you have to learn how to survive. And this added just another layer of, like, it's not just survival. You have to look good doing it and go to these game shows and find patrons and... Yeah, I really liked that. I love a contest.
Princess Donut starts being like, we have to kill things with flair so that we can get more viewers and stuff. Or she's being super dramatic.
Their PR manager is constantly telling Carl, like, you gotta stop having these deeply emotional conversations in your chat. Like, say that again, but out loud. And Carl's like, fuck you, Seb.
Which is... Yeah, and then there's all the politics. So, like, the company that's running... So, different intergalactic companies, like, kind of run or sponsor the games every year. And the one that's doing it this year has their, like, business rivalries with other companies, and there's stuff going on, like,
there's
on
all this
another
alien
level.
stuff going on. Yeah, in the background of, like... Is it in this book where they get attacked? Or is that in the later book?
No, they don't get attacked. There's just, like, hints of, like, stuff. Which, like, it's a really great, like we talked about a bit before, like how the world building and the plot are so interconnected. Like it makes the world feel bigger, which makes the stakes bigger, which makes the world feel bigger again. And it's just like this great combination of like both of those things enhancing each other.
In a future book, one of the outside players tries to assassinate Carl and Donut while they are in a game show. So like things from the outside comes in. Yeah. So obviously they don't die. I don't feel like that's a big spoiler because the series is about them, but so you get some of the bigger things going on, and Carl eventually is like, I have to try and make more noise and actually affect people outside of this game. Like, it becomes his goal to sort of do that because he becomes
pissed. Katniss. He wants to be the songbird or whatever it is. The Mockingjay, sorry.
It's that thing of switching from just being concerned about yourself to the wider stakes and what the character wants versus what they need. And,
I love how clever he is, which is really funny because he was so oblivious about his girlfriend cheating on him with multiple people.
Yeah.
But, like, he likes to learn how the game works and figure out the rules and then exploit them in some way. That's like a thing he does multiple times throughout the series. And it's always so fun. It feels so clever and also so gamey. Like, find the bug in the
glitch.
game. Yeah. Or not even a bug, just something the game creators didn't think about.
Yes.
Like, how these things interact.
He's like the ultimate speedrunner in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like also I found it nice that, because sometimes in these kinds of stories where there's like, you know, the grizzled hero, because he is kind of cynical, he's also like ex-military, and oftentimes you can have those protagonists just be like, I'm just in it for myself and I don't care about anybody, but like he actually cares about people and like doesn't want to murder other people, and like there's a crew of elderly and disabled people who were brought into the dungeon by their caretakers because they didn't have anywhere else to go on the surface, and he like tries to help them even though his publicist and everybody is telling him like, this is a bad move,
like, this is a bad idea,
this is not good
smart
for you.
So
it's just really nice to have a character who like does genuinely kind of want to be a good person, or is trying to, and like isn't just out for himself.
A little spoiler, one of the people in the old folks home ends up leveling up, and she's one of my favorite characters. Just the old woman with the magical powers.
Is it the old woman
with the shopping cart?
She's
no,
not,
her name's Elle.
Is she the one with the husband?
Yeah, she talks about her husband.
Because it like hinted at that in the first book of like her maybe having some abilities that the other one didn't, which is very cute.
Yeah, no, the woman with the shopping cart wasn't actually part of the old folks' home. She was just like there and kind of woke them up.
Yeah, she seems connected to one of those other like companies out there or something. There's something more going on with her. Yeah. All right, we're almost at time. Is there any last other things that we want to talk about with like world building or lit RPG? Go for it, Allison.
I want to say how much I liked how Matt Dinniman explores different game genres sometimes. So every floor of the game has a different theme. The first two, I think, are just generic, like fantasy RPG.
Yeah.
But then they start to change. And so, like, there's one that's like these railway twisting paths that they have to navigate. And there's one with like bubble worlds. And there's one where they have to like collect cards, kind of like Pokemon. So I just kind of appreciated the little nods to like different types of games and genres and all these fantasy elements like gods and mazes and stuff. So I think it's just so cleverly done that he sort of built this world in a way that he could explore whatever he feels like on a different level. Like it can have whatever rules he wants, you know?
Yeah. That's like, you can really tell it's like a passion project, like somebody who's like, I love this thing and I want to write it, which I think is one of the best ways to write, is just think about things that you like and then write about them is like great. And then people will see your passion, and because like lots of people like games and like reading about them, and which is very cool. One thing that I didn't like about the world building that I will bring up just because I want to talk about it, I think, with my question at the end of the show, is almost every boss or antagonist in at least the first level and some of the second level too were described as fat. And none of the good characters were. And that is a trope or like a tendency that happens often subconsciously. Like I don't expect it was a malicious thing, but it's an unfortunate result of the fat phobia that is rampant in our society, that we tend to code bad guys as being fat.
Is Audette not fat? Shown as fat in her suit? I guess
she is in her suit, but then she gets out of her suit.
Gets out of it and she's
not
actually
really fat. Yeah. But I just picked up on that, and I'm just like, I'm assuming it's not malicious, but it's a subconscious bias that a lot of people have, and it's kind of icky.
I noticed that too, and especially given that a lot of the bosses were presumably real people on Earth that were then turned into bosses. Like the very first, the Hoarder is portrayed as like a 15-foot tall, overweight, mentally ill Hispanic woman. And he feels gross killing her.
Yeah.
I was also a little bit like, woof. I don't know. I don't want to speak entirely to that. But I do like that the NPCs were based off real people. But for some of them, it's like creepy. The gym bro. The gym bro being like, oh, good gains, bro, good gains. And like, that's funny. And then there were other ones where I was like, this feels, I think there was supposed to be commentary there that maybe wasn't hitting the mark perfectly. So. Yeah.
I don't think it was malicious.
No, not at all.
We want to flag stuff that's even, subconsciously problematic, because that way we can all get better about it. But with that, we are going to pop on over to Proprietor's Pick. And Allison, I have a feeling that you already mentioned the title of the thing that you were going to be talking about here. You're dropping some breadcrumbs for us. What do you have?
So I really liked Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I was curious if I just liked Dungeon Crawler Carl or if I actually liked LitRPG. So I tried a different LitRPG and I hated it and I couldn't get into it. And I was like, dang it, maybe it's just Matt Dinniman who I like. But that's only 2 book samples. I have to try more.
We need more for science.
Yeah, for science. So I tried another one that is quite highly rated, and I loved it. So maybe I do like LitRPG. So it's called The Wandering Inn by Pirate ABBA. I'm so fascinated by this because she doesn't share her name. I believe she uses she, her pronouns, but she like maintained privacy, but has this really popular series, which is unusual. And all, publishers are always saying, no, you have to have social media and you have blah, blah, blah. And she's done very well for not doing that. So this is what the book is about. A young woman who finds herself transported into a fantasy world where people can gain levels and monster attacks are a normal way of life. She appears near an inn, so she sort of just stays there at first, and then she slowly fixes it and makes friends with people. And it's very endearing and sweet and cozy. And it has a really interesting structure. Like, as an editor, I was like, this is not normal North American book structure. And of course, North American book structure isn't the only structure you can use.
Yeah.
And she hasn't. She releases them on her blog or like on her website, sort of as like little serial snippets. So the chapters, like, if you understand that that's how it was written, you can sort of see how this format works. So it's not like a whole 3-act structure arc type thing that we're used to. But I loved it so much. So I love seeing something with sort of a different structure than what you're expecting. It is quite a bit different from Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's way more cozy. And, it's about this girl like running an inn and the characters that she meets. It's quite
like Stardew Valley
paced.
as a
book.
Cute.
There is some more like serious stuff that happens, but it's not the intensity of Dungeon Crawler Carl. But I loved both of them. So,
Neat.
You can get this as an ebook or an audiobook. And I believe you can read it for free on Pirate ABBA's website, The Wandering Inn, or just wanderinginn.com. It's not available in print as of now. It's like really long. The first one was like a 40-hour audiobook. So I think maybe printing that would be a lot. Like in comparison, Dungeon Crawler Carl was about 10 hours.
That's about the audiobook length of like the Way of Kings book. Book series,
those are quite so
Stormlight Archive,
thick.
which are like 1,000-page books. So that's a big.
And there's like 15
tome.
books in this series too.
Oh,
like
wow.
if you want more LitRPG,
there's more
a
for
lot
you.
for you.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very endearing. I did find it a bit slow to get into at first. It was quite slow paced and like, I don't know. And then I really got into it. It was like, okay, I like this. I'm into these characters, and highly recommend.
Cool. This brings us to Last Call, where we will share our concluding thoughts and questions that will help you bring the world-building elements of Dungeon Crawler Carl into your own writing. Allison, what do you think we can take from this world and apply to our own world building?
Matt Dinniman does a good job at creating reader anticipation by effective use of genre and world building. So he'll drop these things like, this is coming on level 3. There are things about the dungeon that Mordecai tells Carl that's like, okay, it's level 3 and 6 and 9 all have these special things to do on them. Or like, this is the level where like people outside get to pay to like interact, to actually come into the world, and they have this big fight, and that's on level X, whatever it is, and that kind of thing. He just keeps dropping breadcrumbs that make you excited. Like, as someone who loves making characters in D&D, I was so excited for class and race selection when they hit level 3, which doesn't happen until book 2. So I had to like wait for it. I was like, I'm ready. I want to pick his class and know what like race. Is he going to change his race? Is he not going to be human?
Yeah.
I was like really curious about that. So I found that just really fun to sort of encourage your readers to anticipate. You don't have to give away too much, but sort of like, here's what's coming next. Here's what might come. And you can also be more subtle about it with like foreshadowing. And it really depends on your genre. If you're writing something like horror, you want it to be like dread. And less excited anticipation and more like,
Which there is some of that in this too, because there's a bunch of things like, it gets so much harder, and Carl's like, oh my goodness, what am I in for?
Yeah. And even just like the dread of I have to kill actual beings because the NPCs in the game are real. Like they're real, either people or a monster or people who have been turned into monsters or aliens or whatever they are.
Yeah, they're not just pixels or like avatars as well. Yeah. As being on a world building podcast, I just love it when world building is so used so well for like plot and stakes and characters. And like this is such a master class and like having those things all be intertwined.
It really is.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm just going to highlight again that I think it's important to consider what your world building communicates about the real world, both explicitly and implicitly, and this can be used for good and it can have negative consequences. So things like this book touches on kind of like the satirization of like reality TV and like bloodthirsty viewers wanting terrible things to happen to people because it's entertaining for genre. But then on the flip side of that, you have it giving a negative connotation to people being overweight. You know, so things about while we are interacting with genre fiction, you know, they do say things about the real world. And just keep that in mind and use those to your advantage and try and keep an eye out for the way that those biases that you may have come out in your world building and perhaps say something that you're not intending to. World building is a powerful weapon, man.
It is.
It is.
And Christiana, what do you take away from Dungeon Crawler Carl to apply to world building?
I wrote down, one man's itch is another man's scratch. So I was thinking of that with the inventory management, like I mentioned earlier, whereas for me, like that's an itch. That's something where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I like it. I appreciate it. It's funny. Let's get on with the story. Let's punch some goblins. Let's like go, go, go. But I'm in the minority in this podcast recording in that both of you loved it. So when it comes to genre fiction in general, but I think really specifically with these kind of niche genres like LitRPG, don't be afraid to get nitty gritty, because if you're having a ton of fun writing it, and if that's the kind of thing you want to see in a book, I bet you there's a whole bunch of other people who also want to see that in a book.
Yeah, there will be an audience for it.
There will be an audience for it, and don't be afraid to, like, especially, like I said, in genre fiction and things like this, don't be afraid of alienating an audience, because you're already alienating certain audiences by virtue of genre you're writing in. So, like, don't stress out too hard about that.
Totally.
Yeah, I always find it funny when I see authors posting, oh no, I got a negative review on Goodreads or whatever, and I'm like...
That means someone's reading it. Yeah.
But also, have you looked at, like, really famous, beloved books? Like, they're not 5 stars. There are plenty of 1-star reviews.
Yeah. I mean, I have also picked up books because of the negative reviews, because they complain about something, and I'm like, oh, I like that thing.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
This.
Yeah, so, like, no book is going to work for every person in the world, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I will quickly, because I realized we didn't touch on it at all, and I just love it. They also get a baby velociraptor in this book. Donut specifically wants a pet, and she picks up a velociraptor, and it's fantastic. So if you were not yet convinced to read this book, maybe that will convince you.
I don't know if it's this one or in the next one, but they get a saddle for him so she can ride him.
Not this book, but now I'm so excited.
Yeah.
A cat riding a velociraptor is everything that I want.
Yeah, you might have convinced me to pick up the second book. just for Princess Donut.
With that, we are at closing time. Unfortunately, we are closing. We would love to stay longer, but we've got loot boxes to open and organize and reorganize, and then realize that we need to customize our organization system and spend 2 hours doing that instead of killing the cool monsters, while Christiana fumes in a corner that we're not going out to kill the monsters. Thank you so much for joining us at the tavern. If hands-on world building is something that interests you along with these more theoretical discussions, then you should absolutely check out our world building workshops. These are bonus monthly episodes where we build a different element of a world every session, and these are available for patrons at our $5 and up tiers at patreon.com/worldbuilderstavern. In this month's episode, which is already out, we are building an economy, which is much more fun than perhaps you might think. It seems dry, but it's very exciting.
There will be no math involved. Don't worry.
Yay.
And probably no loot boxes. No long inventory lists.
Maybe.
You'll have to listen and find out. Check our description for a link to help a Palestinian family escape Gaza, and you can also find us on our website, worldbuilderstavern.com, which has links to our TikTok, Discord, and our bookshop.org page, where you can buy books that we talk about on the podcast, like Dungeon Crawler Carl, which will support us and an indie bookstore. We hope to serve you here again soon, but until next time, scram!
Bye!
Get out of here.